And we're live.
Welcome back, y'all. It's good to be back. Um, there you go. Okay, sorry, I was adjusting something. Well, today we got a little bit of an interesting mix-up for you. Okay, we're going to combine two of our previous games to make one even like a worse game. Okay, so we're in the business of making games that just torture us. And so, in fact, when I introduced this game, Karen did not want to do it. Like, there's no part of her that wanted to do it. I already didn't want to do it, but I'm like, hey, we're going to do what the people want. All right, so today we're mixing up two of our games. We're going to play the Would You Rather, but the game is not to choose what you would rather do. The game is to try to guess what most people have chosen. Because remember, if you were here last time, a few weeks ago, it tells you the percentage of people who chose a specific answer. So I'm going to ask Karen, would you rather do this or this? She's going to try to guess, oh, most people answered this question. If she's wrong, she has to eat a marshmallow or half a marshmallow, which is why we have scissors here because, it's giving me too much. Me and Karen hate marshmallows. To give you context, this is not fun. This is torture. So we're basically live streaming torture, which I don't know if that's loud on YouTube, but within the context, I think it's loud. You ready, Karen?
Yes.
Question. Never be able to sleep with a pillow ever again, or never be able to sleep with a blanket ever again. Which one do you think most people chose? Just guess one out.
I would choose a blanket, so then I'm going to have to say pillow.
Correct. 77% of people chose pillow. All right, next one. Would you rather resurrect your favorite canceled show or cancel your most hated show?
Oh. I think people would cancel their most hated show because there's just a lot of haters out there.
Is this your final answer?
Yes.
Incorrect. 45%. You barely missed it. Go ahead and take a bite or cut it in half. And now, Karen, you get to ask me too while your mouth is full. Go ahead.
Okay.
Start chewing and then ask me. Go ahead.
Would you rather never read another book?
Okay.
Or never hear another song?
Never read another book. Hands down, right? That's what everybody would choose.
People don't normally like books.
82%. I won't have my answer. Ask me one more. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Would you rather get $1 for every good deed you do?
Okay.
Or get $100 for every act of evil?
That's hard. I don't know what people chose. I'm gonna guess $1 for every good deed you do. Okay. Just because I'm gonna trust humanity.
Okay.
55%. I barely won by 5%.
So close.
Okay. Well, I didn't eat a marshmallow, but let's go. Two more on you.
Okay.
Would you rather be in a room full of spiders for a night or be in a room full of snakes for a night?
I think people would choose snakes.
Yeah, that's...
They're strange.
Oh! 50-50.
Split in half.
So I'll take a bite for that because I lost somehow.
Okay.
I hate these.
They're not good.
They're so gross. Like,
the one time I like marshmallows is during Christmas time when they're like the little tiny marshmallows that I just drop in my hot cocoa so they dissolve by the time I drink the hot cocoa.
Gosh, the texture. It just like a bite into like solid but pillowy sugar. It's not good. It's not good sugar. There's no flavor.
I'd rather eat cotton candy.
Yeah, okay. Well, there's an ad, so we're going to wait here. But we're doing this because we have a ton of extra marshmallows from last time. And so I figured, like, I don't want to throw these marshmallows away. And no one likes marshmallows, so let's do it. All right, next question. Would you rather have a fear of heights or have a fear of water?
Fear of heights.
Good job. 80% of people said the same thing.
Because beach.
Would you rather visit the doctor or visit the dentist? I think this one's obvious.
I think everyone would much rather visit the doctor than visit the dentist.
Correct. 63%. Now, last two. You ask me two more?
Okay. Would you rather be a zombie? Oh, okay. This is like a show reference that you don't know.
Okay, skip it then because I don't know it.
Okay. Would you rather have a headache?
Okay.
Or have a sore throat? Oh, COVID symptoms.
Ooh, both COVID symptoms, actually.
Yeah.
I would rather have a headache.
But do you think people?
Oh
would
yeah, that's
rather-
right. People would rather have a sore throat, I feel like.
You're correct.
I'm
oh my
right
gosh,
by
it's
51%. Okay, good.
I would rather have a headache because I just normally have headaches, so it'll be like.
Wow, that's let's get you checked up. All right,
Okay.
last one.
Would you rather get rid of all bad drivers on the roads
Or
never have to stand in line at stores and restaurants? What do you think people would choose?
I think the first one. Get rid of all bad drivers on the road.
I agree.
How? How are people terrible? 46%.
Oh my gosh, 46%.
Okay. Finish this marshmallow here.
So the majority would rather never wait in line in stores.
Well, I'm glad this game has concluded.
I think I won.
Yeah, actually, because I ate twice. Well, welcome back, y'all.
This was our breakfast.
This was our breakfast. First thing I had all day. Today is about God's compassion. And actually, I want to rephrase it. Today is about God's promises. So today is called Remember God's Compassion. But here, for the secret crew who actually watch these, it's really Remember God's Promises, which is, and you'll know why in a second. But God is a faithful God, and he's full of compassion. All of us know that. And if you don't know that, like I'm telling you now for the first time or second or third time, everyone knows or should know that God is a faithful God that has a lot of compassion. He never runs out of it. And sure, you might already know that, like I said, but if you do know, there would be some differences in your life, but most important, if you really do know, you would constantly be reminded of it. You have to remember it again and again in order to actually ignite your faith and your hope in God. It's not something that we just think of once and, oh, all of a sudden I got all this faith and hope. No, this is, a process of reminding yourself. And in the past few weeks, the theme has really been just remembrance of what God does, of who he is, and now today of compassion and his promises. So as it becomes a part of you, you'll be preparing yourself for any difficult situation you might run into at home or at school or at work or anywhere else you might go, even the gym, anywhere you go. So make it a point every morning to remind yourself about God's faithfulness to you and remind yourself of the promises that are yours in Jesus. So what are his promises is the question. But before that, I want to ask Karen, what is the biggest promise you've ever made someone and did not keep? Or it doesn't have to be the biggest. It could be a promise. If you don't have one on top of your head, I can think of one. I
have one that I didn't think was a big promise, but to the person it felt big, so it disappointed them. It was one of my friends, and we hadn't talked for a while because you don't see people during COVID.
Yep.
And we were talking on the phone and something came up. So I told her, I'm going to call you back. And I didn't call her back.
That's it?
In the middle of the phone call. She was really disappointed because I guess she had news.
Is it me or that was super anticlimactic?
Let me say it again. One time I was talking to one of my best friends. And we were on the phone because we hadn't seen each other in 6 months due to COVID. And we were on the phone having a great conversation, and then someone knocks on my door, and I tell her, I'm so sorry, I have to hang up and call you back.
In the middle of the call.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
I forgot to call her back.
So that's a bad promise, but I thought you were I promise you I'll give you $1 million, and you never paid him.
I don't have money.
That sucks, man. Karen, you're a terrible person. That's terrible. I was going to share my story, but it's a lot worse than that. So I'm not going to. But I'm actually not going to now after that. But that's a good example, right, guys? Yeah. So anyways, what are those promises that we're talking about? God's promises. Well, there are a ton in Psalm 103. So all of these promises are going to come straight from Psalm 103. But instead of reciting the verses for you, I broke it down into 3 sections. 3 categories, if you would, about promises. The first one are promises of redemption. All right. These are basically promises where God focuses on redeeming us. The first one is he forgives all of my sins. He heals all of my diseases, and he redeems my life from destruction. Whether it's sin, it's sickness, or destruction, God promises redemption from those things or ailments, if you would. And keep in mind, when God mentions that he promises that he'll heal us of our diseases, also mental diseases, mental illnesses. This is a promise from God. And I know it's easy to just go like, oh, God promised me this, now heal me now. Like, grow my leg back or grow my arm back or whatever it is. But you also got to keep in mind how medicine has progressed over the past like hundreds of years. If 2,000 years ago, if we had, God forbid, if we had like a cancer patient or a patient that needs serious care, they're done. We just got to give them 6 months to a year unless God miraculously heals them, and they're done. They're over. Now, if we have a cancer patient or someone with COVID, for example, or someone with, some other illness, we have treatments to where we can extend their life years and years and years, and maybe even get rid of it altogether. A ton of people have beat cancer for that reason. Now, is it really the medical field achievements? Yes, in a way, but it is also God's gift to humanity of medicine and of the way he heals us. And likewise with therapy. Mental therapy, there is healing in that. There are so many Christian therapists out there that can actually talk to you and give you some therapy, or in the future. And in those ways, God will use that person to deliver his healing. But sometimes you can just lay a hand on someone and pray for healing, and all of a sudden you see their eye grow back, or all of a sudden you see the cancer disappear. Now, we don't necessarily rely on that every single time, but we do it in faith. But we know there are alternatives with medicine and other treatments. And so God redeems us from our diseases. He redeems us from our sins. He redeems us from a life of destruction. Even if you have destroyed your life and you are going back to try to fix your life. And to represent this, I know of a guy named Mike, and I read his book. He used to be a drug addict. And this guy was a drug addict for 10 years. Okay, and he did some really bad stuff, because not only was he a drug addict, he was also a drug dealer. And so not only was he enslaved, he enslaved others. And it was heavy narcotics. It wasn't easy drugs. He went to the point of he almost killed people. He almost got killed several times. He fell out of a car. He has been shot at. He stole money from his mom, from his grandparents, from his sister, from his loved ones. He would lie nonstop to people that he loved for 10 years of his life while being Christian, or while being in a Christian household. I don't necessarily know his personal heart at the time, but while being in a Christian household, he did all those things. 10 years later, he finally sought treatment. He asked God to just miraculously heal him from the inside and get rid of drug addiction. But it seems like God told him, nope, I want you to work for it. I want you to show that you actually want this. So he finally went into a rehab center. That's like high intensive rehab center, to where you can't leave for like 60 days. It's like 2 months. You can't leave at all. You have to stay there. And in that process, he started to mentally rewire himself. He started to become closer to the Lord. And in that process, the Lord has healed him from addiction. And since then, that was 2010. Since then, he has never, ever had another drug in his body aside from caffeine, from coffee. But aside from that, he has never sold another drug. All of his relationship with his parents, with his sister, with his family have been mended. He's returned money to the people he stole from. And now he makes over $1 million a year doing, other stuff, whatever. That's not relevant. But my point is that God redeemed him from the destruction he already was. That is a promise from God, directly from God. Now, that's the first category of promises. The second category, promises of love. This is where God shows his love to us in different ways, sometimes ways that's not conventional to us. So the first promise is, again, all these are from Psalm 103. It's, he crowns me with love and compassion. So it's not just love, it's the way he treats you with compassion, and the way he sees you, the way he sees us, the way he treats his people, his children. It's with compassion. The next one is he executes righteousness and justice for me against oppression. He sets me free. These promises focus on God's love. God always assures us that his love is available to us. He does this in a few ways, and mainly, like I said, by pairing his love with compassion, but also by fighting with us against oppression, fighting for justice, and fighting to set us free. So, Karen, a question I have for you is, what is the time you felt like God's love set you free from something? Whether it's an oppression or something you're oppressed with or something you need to be set free from, that's an addiction or whatever. Yeah.
I think for me, maybe it'll be relevant to you guys, but also kind of a strange example. But early high school and middle school, I wasn't a good student. I was a good person. I just wasn't good academically. So I didn't get good grades, and my parents had very high expectations for me. So I felt like I constantly disappointed them.
Yeah.
And early high school, I almost failed a class. And that has never like happened before. And you don't know, but Egyptian parents are very strict. Like, they want you to get all A's. They want you to do the best you can. If you get like an A minus, they'll ask you why. Why didn't you get an A? So I was so scared to tell my parents that I almost failed the class. Actually, did fail the class.
Oh.
And I had to email my teacher asking to retake the final.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
I don't think I knew this story.
You don't.
All these stories are new to me, by the way. I just tell her, hey, Karen, I'm going to ask you this question, and here's the story she comes up with.
So I was so scared. There was a few days where my teacher didn't respond to me. She was actually on like her maternity leave, so I had to like email her and wait for her to miraculously respond to me. And in that time, I honestly felt like a failure.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in my head, I put failing a class. And then also I was trying to like play the piano, and I just wasn't like getting better. And I equated that to, okay, I'm a failure.
Yeah.
And then I started praying because I didn't talk to anyone about it. So I was alone. So I started praying and talking to God about it. And then I felt like he was saying, like, you're not a failure because you failed at those things. Like, I still love you even if you don't get an A, even if you have to retake math, even if your parents are disappointed in you, I still love you, and it doesn't make me think less of you.
That's a good story. That's better than the story I had prepared. And because of that, I won't share mine as well. But the third and last category is his promises of future. And I know what you're thinking. This is redundant. Solid promises are in the future. I know, but you'll get what I mean in just a second. Okay, so hold on. So promises of future. He makes his ways known to me. The second one is he gives me his grace and mercy when I need it. These are promises that are specifically designed to set us up for our future, to set our future up. Okay, those two work. He makes his ways known to me. That means I'm able to know what path he wants me to take, what path he wants me to walk on, what college he wants me to go to, what decision he wants me to make, because he makes his way known to me as long as we ask him. The second one is he gives me his grace and mercy when I need it. So in the future, for our future sins and our future struggles and whatever may come in the future, his grace and his mercy is always there for us. So make it a point every morning this year to come back to these promises and say them out loud. Some of them, you don't say all of them every morning out loud, because look, Lamentations 3:22 to 23 says this: because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. If you keep reading these promises and reciting them, I guarantee you'll be stronger in faith and more confident of God's love than you've ever been before. I guarantee it. Don't just settle for knowing God's promises. Remember them every day and watch them come alive in you. And so just to recap really quick, I know we're going a little bit long, but just to recap real quick, there are a few categories of God's promises that I've broken down from Psalm 103. All these are directly from that chapter. If you want, go ahead and read that chapter on your own. The first category is promises of redemption. Those are directly dealing with us, with our sin, with our diseases, and with destruction that may come in our life. The second category is promises of love. And these deal with how God's compassionate towards us, no matter what. He loves us no matter what. And his love is always available to anybody who wants it. And this also includes the way he sets us free and the way he fights against oppression. And the third category is promises of future. And as we learned, this is not redundant. It's about the way he designs our future. It's the way he makes his ways known to us. It's how he gives us his grace and his mercy when we need it most. So moving forward in your mornings, if you have time, recite some of these promises throughout 2021. I guarantee you will see some of them start to actually happen in your life. Thanks for tuning in this week, week 42, I think. And we will see you guys next. Oh, Charles will see you guys next week. I'll see you the week after that. Bye, guys.